What if the most radical act of love we can teach our children is to say no? I'm talking about the kind of no that protects peace, not pride. That kind that says, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it to anyone online. Recently, I had the honor of being interviewed by Cosmopolitan Philippines after the heartbreaking death of Emman Atienza, a story that left many parents, including myself, asking, how do we guide our teens through a digital world that confuses performance for worth? And just a gentle note, I don't know Emman personally, and I don't know the full story of her life, her pain, or what she may have been navigating beneath the surface. And so nothing I share here is meant to diagnose, explain, or speak on her behalf. These reflections were written in response to the larger conversation about her passing has reopened around the emotional cost of social media and the kind of parenting that can serve as quiet protection. And I offer them with care, knowing that they may not fit every story, especially not hers. But may this still land softly for the ones trying to parent with presence, the ones healing what they inherited, the ones walking beside teens whose hearts are still learning how to carry both beauty and ache. And in today's episode, I want to share what psychology and motherhood have taught me about boundaries, especially in raising teens in the social media age. And I also want to talk about something deeper, why so many Filipinos still struggle to say no and how learning to do so can heal not just our families, but our inner child. Stay till the end because I'll reveal how my daughter's simple act of saying no became one of my proudest moments as a mother, and how it continues to teach me every day, and that love without boundaries isn't love, it's exhaustion. Magandang umaga, hapon or gabi po sa inyong lahat. My name is Dr. Net. I'm a Filipino-American clinical psychologist, and I help Filipinos worldwide heal generational trauma through inner child healing, ancestral wisdom, and kapwa psychology. Born and raised in the Philippines, I immigrated in the US as a young adult and later pursued grad studies in San Francisco. And as a first gen immigrant, I bring both personal and professional insight into the healing journey. Having grown up also with my own anxiety and trauma, I deeply understand what it means to face mental health challenges without support or resources. And all of these lived experiences inspired me to create this channel, The Brown Psych, a space that makes healing accessible while honoring culture, heritage, and community. So when I was growing up, no wasn't really an option. Was it in yours? We didn't say no to our parents, right? No to the elders, or we didn't say no to family obligations. We just obliged, even if we're tired, even if we're overwhelmed, or quietly breaking inside, we still smiled and said, okay po. But this compliance, let's talk about this compliance because this wasn't just family culture, it was really survival. Because if you think about it, under colonial rule, saying no could be punished. It could also mean that it will cost the life of our lolos and lolas at that time. So I get it. Our lolos and lolas, they learned to stay small and agreeable because they needed to stay safe. And that fear became generational muscle memory. Don't resist, don't rebel, don't risk rejection. And so when we as adults struggle to say no, whether to overwork, toxic relationships, or even another Netflix episode at night before an early session the following week, the following morning, we're not weak, we're wired. And our nervous systems remember. And that's why so many of us Filipinos feel guilt after setting even healthy boundaries. If that resonates with you, I'd love to hear your take. Drop it in the comments. What's one situation where saying no felt wrong, even when it was right? Now, before we move deeper, I want to gift you something that will help you start practicing this muscle. It's called Navigating Boundaries, a free guide that helps you say no without guilt in family, work, and even love. And you'll find the link in the description. I get it. Saying no isn't not just an adult skill. It's something we can also model for our teens too, which brings me to my next point. And as a mother of this beautiful 19-year-old kid, I've watched how social media shapes not just what our teens see, but how they see themselves. So in our home, we actually chose not to give our daughter a cell phone until she was probably around 13 or 14. And we weren't rushing to match what other families were doing. We were watching her, not the timeline set by tech companies. And even now, she's not constantly online. But that doesn't mean she's disconnected. She's rooted because her self worth isn't tied to likes, followers, or filters. And most social media platforms open at 13 years old, but legal doesn't mean developmental. And that prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles the impulse control and emotional regulation, doesn't really fully mature until around 25 years old. So when we hand our kids smartphones, we're giving them a world they're not yet equipped to navigate alone. That doesn't mean we isolate them. It means we walk beside them slowly with care. Sure, we allow exploration, but with guidance. And we allow them to make mistakes, but with repair. We allow them to put boundaries, but without shame. And so, one of the things I am most proud of as a mom is that my kid, my daughter, can say no, even to me. And yes, there are so many moments when it sucks as a mom, and I really don't like hearing it, but I honor it because she knows her boundaries are not up for debate. That's not defiance, it's protection. And she knows she's still loved even when she says no. And that for me is the kind of safety I wish I knew growing up. So when we do the 6 week inner child healing workshops, there's one theme that always comes up. Most of us Filipino adults were never taught how to say no. We learned to earn love by pleasing others. We became experts at self abandonment, saying yes to avoid conflict, to maintain harmony, to keep the peace. And here is the honest truth: our inner child needs boundaries as much as our teen does. Think of boundaries like emotional vitamins. They strengthen the parts of you that were once neglected. And each time we say no, we tell our younger selves that we are safe now. And you are safe now. You don't have to perform for love. And so there are some psychologists that even said that healing our inner child means reparenting ourselves with the care and protection we didn't receive. And boundaries are that protection. And so if you're someone who struggles to stop scrolling, still says yes when your body says no, still watches Netflix at midnight before an early client session, meaning me, please know that you're not alone. That's our inner child trying to feel free, but without boundaries, freedom turns into fatigue. And that's where today's second freebie comes in. I made this ebook called Pagbabalik Loob, Return to Self, which is really an ebook if you are starting your inner child healing journey and you have no clue on what that's about. Download it through the link in the description so you can start your homecoming. And before colonization, our ancestors already understood boundaries, not as separation, but as sacred space. And they practiced kapwa, seeing self in others, but kapwa didn't mean martyrdom, it meant harmony. Before there were screens, there were songs. And before there were apps, there were stories told by firelight. And before there were content, there was connection. And our task now, as parents, as healers, as cycle breakers, is to remember that our children don't need us to be perfect. They need us to be present, to teach them that safety can come from truth, not from silence, from boundaries, not obedience. And when we reconnect with our pre colonial roots, that's how we heal forward. If you're curious about these ancestral practices, I've created another freebie for you called Discover the Pre-Colonial Philippines, which explores our indigenous approaches to community and emotional safety, and also about like our history really, and about how we used to heal. So, Filipino parenting can evolve without abandoning our values, and we can honor utang na loob, the debt of gratitude, while teaching loob ng sarili or inner truth, And we can respect elders without silencing our children. Because true kapwa parenting means walking beside, not above. It's not a hierarchy. It's guiding our teens while also healing the child inside us who never felt guided, only commanded. And so when my daughter says no, it doesn't threaten me anymore. It teaches me. It reminds me that love with boundaries isn't really rejection, it's repair. And this is what we do every week inside this amazing circle that we have built called the Healam Collective. This is the only Filipino healing community across the globe where you can continue your inner child journey weekly so you don't fall into old patterns. Because we heal better together, just like our ancestors did a long time ago. I'm going to do a quick check for you. Are you someone learning to say no for the first time in your adult life? Comment healing boundaries below. I'd love to know how this is landing for you because I am on the same boat. Believe me. And you know what? Why inner child healing matters too? Because boundaries are not walls, they're really bridges. Think of it as a bridge instead of like that door that you shut. They are bridges that protect connection from collapsing under the weight of resentment. And so, Charles Whitfield said in Healing the Child Within, the real self cannot grow in captivity. Every time we set a boundary, we free our real self to breathe again. So if your child or your inner child has started saying no, celebrate that. That's not rebellion, that is restoration. And when I look at my daughter, I see what healing forward looks like, a young woman who can say no and still feel safe in love. And sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, I see so many teaching moments with her. She teaches me more about boundaries than my textbooks, than my professors could ever do when it comes to boundaries. Because boundaries at their core are an act of belonging. And if today's topic resonated with you, you love this video called How to Say No to Parents and Still Be a Good Anak. It's the perfect next step from today's conversation, especially if you're learning to honor your truth while still holding love for your family. Maraming salamat. This is Dr. Net signing out and reminding you that our healing is our resistance. I will see you on the next one.